Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Kate Assaraf, and she's the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Health Hair Care, a clean beauty brand built on the belief that sustainability, transparency, and integrity aren't just buzzwords, they're non-negotiable. And she's got a great story. And, just remember, this is a podcast about healthy living, mind, body, and spirit. And so, hair care, any skin care, all of these sort of concepts are a big part of that. And Kate, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here. Love to hear about your story.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me here.
It's my pleasure. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into this world of hair care.
Sure. So I have been in the beauty industry for almost 2 decades. I've done every bit from formulation to marketing to sales. And, around 10 years ago when I was pregnant with my first son, I read this book. It was called Boys Adrift, and it was about how to raise a son to be a productive member of society. It was like all the pitfalls that are happening in modern life. And one of them was like, video games. One of them was like men, fathers and sons don't hunt a lot together anymore. And then one of the things in the book that really it wasn't even a big part of the book, it was just a little tiny slice that stuck with me forever, was about plastics.
Wow.
And so if you can imagine, in 2014, I was reading about how the author was talking about how runoffs from a plastic factory in the Potomac River was changing the biology of male fish and allowing them to lay eggs. And so that was something that for me, that was so mind-blowing to me. My mom had a PhD in anthropology, and she'd always talk to me about evolution. It's a slow process. And here we have, this very fast change in aquatic life. And now we're discovering 10 years later the impacts that plastic is having on human health. And
Well, and even without getting political or anything like that, I mean, if you look at sociology and society and how people are today versus 20, 30, 50 years ago, and this whole gender fluidity thing, which I don't even have an opinion about, but it didn't exist when I was a kid, or it was in such a small amount that whatever was affecting it, and I don't know if plastic has anything to do with it, but it might be worth considering.
it's worth considering. I don't know either. But the author seemed to kind of have a nod to that because of what was happening to other species. And so, when you're pregnant, you've never been pregnant, but I was told I had to
raised
drink.
a few kids. I've been on the other side of it for sure.
I was told I had to drink water like crazy. This was the plastic bottled water, heyday. So I
Right.
was chugging. And then I came to this chapter in this book, and then I was like, oh,
Uh-oh.
maybe not such a good idea. And that put me on a different course. Suddenly, when you see that plastic is everywhere, and how beauty is packaged in plastic, water in plastic, and then you look at food in plastic and medical equipment in plastic. It's like flooded. You can't get away from it, and I don't expect anyone to get away from it. But what I tried to do for myself and my family was to find substitutes for items that I regularly purchased in plastic. And in that mission, I discovered something called a refillery. I think they've been around maybe 5-6 years. And so a refillery is basically, for anyone that doesn't know, you bring like your jug of detergent, and then you bring it to a place and then fill it. Instead of buying a new jug, you fill it at the store with only what you need to buy. Or,
I have actually not heard of that. And
Really?
I am like on top of so many things. So
Oh
I
man.
certainly need to explore that. I think that's a fantastic idea. I produce natural products, and I've offered that sort of a service myself, but on a real small scale. Where
Oh,
where,
man.
where would you find these things?
They're in every state. Actually, if you go to I'm so passionate about people getting into refilleries that I
Love it.
sell my hair care in almost all of the refilleries around the country because I want people to go into a refillery. Maybe they're going to buy dip, which is what I sell, but then they can just by accident be exposed to all the other plastic-free options that are
I'm
out
going
there.
to explore this and blow it up.
My gosh, I'm so excited.
That's it's we're about health, right? But that's also planet health. It's everything health, and it's all
Everything.
connected. And
Yeah,
we live in such a disposable world that is such a big part of the problem in so many ways that if we
yeah,
can just think about, in olden times, they built things out of clay and metal and glass and things that you
yeah.
just reused over and over and over again. And nowadays everything's one and done and the landfills fill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere. And so some refilleries have just, body care essentials and, plastic-free swaps. Like you can, you don't never have to buy saran wrap again. They have solutions for that are
Nice.
plastic-free and like
Love it.
Ziploc bags, all that stuff. But, there are also many refilleries that carry food too. So if you want to go and refill your pasta or refill like, any grains or anything that you buy regularly, they're there for you as well. And I think
I'm
it's
excited. I'm going to go explore. Hopefully, there's one close to me in Southern California because I'm
oh man, there's so many over there.
nice. I love it. Well, I'm
You're in
all
good
about
hands.
it. You're going to hear about it for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, that's I mean like that's a big piece of so I read this book, it changed my life. I felt like the world suddenly looked I don't want to say toxic because that's not like a right way to
A lot of
say
it
it.
is though. Yeah,
It is, but it's also I don't want to if you say toxic too much, it starts to lose its meaning.
I agree.
And then it starts to
Start
like
bringing that to life too. I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah. And so, I never say like completely plastic free your life, but like plastic, just be plastic conscious, not
yeah,
don't be plastic
yeah.
blind to things.
Make
So
better choices. Yeah.
yeah, and I think, a big part of sustainability now is we had a big blip in sustainability. And I
Mhm.
think in 2020, 2021 during the pandemic.
Right.
And then sustainability became such a buzzword itself that it lost its meaning. And
Exactly.
people are so
Everything's sustainable now. Yeah.
yeah, everyone's so fed up because everything's called itself sustainable.
Right.
Big companies made sustainability promises, and then they quietly like backtracked on
Yeah,
all
it's
of
a
these
lot of work
promises.
actually. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Like I love my company and that it's what I think sustainability should be, but that it's not like it's not like people are that excited to start a company where the goal is to get people to buy less stuff less often. Do
Big
you know
board of directors wouldn't be happy about it.
No, no, no. And it's funny because even though I purposely made our conditioner bar so it lasts most people around 6 months to 2 years, depending on the length of hair. People are like, how are you sustaining a business that way? And I was like, I made sure it was so good that once someone bought it, they told all of their friends. And
No, I totally agree with that business model. I make natural products as well, and I make them very concentrated and very pure, and they come in little containers and they last forever. And people are like, "Why don't you make it in the big bottle?" I'm like, "Well, it would go bad before it would be finished, and
oh,
it's all natural, so why would I do that, you know?" And
yeah.
I get
Yeah,
it.
it's a very strange thing to explain to someone that you want people to buy less.
Mm-hmm. I
But
totally get it.
but the people that get it and they appreciate it. And I
Yep.
think that's like a really important thing. Is like I don't need to sell my dip bars to everybody. I just need to sell them to the people that really
I
value that.
totally get it. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think slowly but surely that sort of collective consciousness is improving. People are
Yeah.
sifting through all the information and all the things and finding things that work and telling people about them. I think it's starting to happen.
I think so too. And I don't need it to be so fast. Do you know what I mean? Because once a shift happens too fast, immediately it kind of
Just
fall off.
again, yeah.
Yeah, it can fall off. And so I think
Paradigm
this
change. This is a true paradigm change.
I think yeah, I think it's one of those things that like requires a lot of people to just slowly creep into the movement, make a couple changes at a time,
Mhm.
and then start to like learn with these new changes. Like for something that is probably relatable to everyone is everyone in America buys paper towels like crazy.
Yep.
They're expensive and they're wasteful.
Yep.
And, you know, you can just use reusable paper towels, which is like a fancy way to call it, let's say rag, you
Right.
know.
I was going to say we used to have wash rags and dish rags as just a
Yeah.
staple, and you'd have maybe paper napkins, but even then they had cloth napkins as well.
Yeah. And so now, I think I'm probably 6 years into just not buying paper towels. I've probably had one pack that's lasted. You know, it's still going because I only use it in the rare instances I host people and they want bacon. So nothing
Yeah, there you
else
go.
works besides a paper towel.
Yeah, the paper towel's good for that, or French fries, or
It's the hero for that one specific thing, but every
yeah.
other instance that I would use a paper towel, like the rag completes that mission,
Terry cloth, old T-shirts, it works great.
Totally.
Those things.
Yeah, so I think this shift is so important, and part of part of what I tried to create a hair care brand that was so good that I didn't need to mention the plastic free part of it in the marketing. And part of that was really, really focusing on performance, and not putting any of the messaging that, hey, this is plastic free. Like most of
Right.
the messaging is actually like, hey, this is sold in salons. It's not just saying it's salon grade, which is not a regulated term. Like this
Right,
is on
exactly.
salon shelves. Like this is in almost all the refill stores because they try every version of a shampoo and conditioner bar, and this is the one that they choose to sell because it is so good.
It works. Yeah, I love it.
And yeah, and that basically is like what motivates me, and it gets me so excited to see someone who's never been in a refill store, never discovered it, go to our store locator and suddenly find one by them, or to find a salon near them that is starting to shift their chemical use, because they're discovering that hairstylists are getting like ill after chronic
Well,
illness
if you know
after.
anything about hair care,
Yeah,
especially things like coloring and
totally.
all of that,
Like,
it is so friggin' toxic. Like people have no
and
idea what they're putting on their skin that's right
yeah.
in their brain, which I don't know if you know anything about skin, it's pretty permeable.
Yeah, and the long-term exposure of someone standing over these chemicals and breathing them,
Yeah.
they're discovering it's become a real issue. So if you look at Dip and you on the store locator and you find a salon that you didn't know existed but seems to prioritize plastic-free products or other, Dip lives in a world with other on a shelf with like other eco-friendly or sustainable products. Like I'm happy if you don't choose this one and you choose another one that's just better
Sure.
for you
Yeah, at least make better
overall.
choices, right? So
Yeah.
you came from the beauty industry, and that's a pretty broad spectrum of products, from skincare, anti-aging, all sorts of serums and everything. What caused you to go to the hair side of things?
I secretly have always loved hair.
Oh,
Um,
fair enough. You've got nice hair, I got to tell you. You can't see it from the podcast, but
it's when I a lot of times when I meet people, I notice the hair before the smile. I notice, like I've loved hair.
dirty.
Yeah, I've just loved hair my whole life, and I've had all different kinds of hair. I've had a purple beehive for a moment
All
in when
right.
I lived in New York. I've had black hair, super blonde hair. I've had even box braids. I've had literally every kind of hair you could think of. I've had it made silver for editorial. And I think there's something funny about hair to me. Like it's so emotional. Like
Yeah.
you could have a white t-shirt and jeans on every day and amazing hair and still feel like $1 million.
Absolutely. I agree. I used to have real long hair. I'm going through
Oh, really?
chemotherapy right now, so I don't have any hair right now, but
So
it's
that's emotional. It's
oh,
a it's
it's
a
way
it's
emotional. Oh yeah, no, I had for most of my life I had hair down the middle of my back and loved it. And so it'll be back. But
yeah.
I know where you're coming from. Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber only episodes that we offer to the supporters. And for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing is we offer fragrance-free products because there are a lot of immunocompromised people going through chemotherapy and you know any kind of extra anything
Anything, yeah,
in
you
your
got to be
products
careful with everything.
it's not that it's risky, it's just that it's not
Not helpful,
recommended, you
right?
know. So I have probably 8 different SKUs that have no scent at all. Um,
Nice.
and a lot of people that are going through chemo, IVF,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, any kind of like they have some people have thyroid issues or any of these. Like I tell them to
So
just
many things that could be affected.
yeah,
Absolutely.
like just stay with the fragrance free.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I just want to talk about fragrance because I suspect you have thoughts on it being in the industry.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm an
Yeah,
essential oil guy, but there's limits to what essential oils can do and how long they last and all of that.
totally. And sometimes something I learned like the dark side of essential oils is sometimes they're cold pressed with pesticides on the plant.
Oh, absolutely.
And
You never know.
you have no idea what's actually going on your skin or,
Yeah.
or
It's a
it,
broad brush, and just like
complete,
everything else, finding good sources, getting to know
totally.
suppliers. I mean, it's a lot of work to put
Yeah.
out a good product.
Yeah, I know. And so, a non-traditional choice that I made was using synthetic, really like the gold standard of synthetic fragrance for our bars, mostly because I know that there are risks with essential oils and not knowing the suppliers. Of course, if you're buying little bits at a time from a small farm you can trust, that's one thing. But
Right.
if you're
But
buying
they
something,
generally don't produce the volume that you would need at a price you can
right,
pay. And
right. And
you know what?
so
This is an important thing, I think, for people to hear. And I talk about this a lot, and especially with my cancer journey and things like that. People have this notion about natural and health and safety. And they also have a notion about synthetic or chemical and health and safety. And the truth is, everything's a double-edged sword.
totally.
Everything. And just because it grew out of the ground doesn't mean it's not going to kill you. And
Mhm.
just because it was synthesized from a mineral or some other compound that comes out of the earth, which is what all chemicals are, doesn't mean it's bad for you. And there's plenty of minerals and chemicals that are inert or basically inert, and you can swim in them and they're not going to hurt you. And
Right.
so these broad brushes that so many of us that are trying to be healthy live by, you come to find out when you start doing real research that you're just fooling yourself in so many ways. So I can
Yeah.
appreciate where you're coming from, going after
Thank you.
something safe and good quality.
Thank you. That it's a very touchy subject, fragrance and
Oh
essential
yeah.
oils are also like, there's people that go to the Church of Essential Oils and you're like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
there's some essential oils are amazing and it depends
Yeah.
on where they come from. You
Right.
know, some are amazing in one respect, but then, they create so much biomass to make them, or
Right.
the places where that plant is grown doesn't have great labor practices. So people are
Yep.
like, you know, not they're not treated well that are bringing that oil to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes the oil's at such a low percentage that you're not getting the benefits that you thought you were getting. And
Right.
it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
marketing oil.
Mislabeling is horrible in this industry, and people
Yeah,
call it pure, and then you come to find out it's, cut 80% with a carrier, and you don't even know what that is.
totally.
So I
Totally.
agree, and this show is all about people learning for themselves how to solve their problems, and I think getting a broad base of information is important, and you know, taking the care to source your ingredients, that's the part that matters.
Absolutely. And really, really understanding the nuance between one supplier and another. of the same ingredient, it could be totally different. And so it's so nice to talk to someone that understands that, because so often, sometimes I'm talking to someone that just hears fragrance bad or essential oils good, and that's
Cut their
it.
eyes off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, some fragrance is horrible, and
Yeah.
you just shouldn't go anywhere near it. You shouldn't plug it into your walls and breathe it.
Exactly.
Like, it's all about exposure. And then some,
Right.
it has, is coming from like a scientist, a PhD chemist who really knows what they're doing and
Exactly.
understands regulatory limitations. And
Yeah.
so it's it's wild out there.
I totally agree. But again, and again, even with things like labeling, people will stick anything on their label and they'll say this and that doesn't make it so. So really going
Yeah.
and doing that research is really where the only place you're going to find answers. And manufacturers that take that care, that's one of the reasons that I would feature, a manufacturer of a product on a health show, is because it matters.
Yeah. And I want to talk about health and refilleries real quick,
Yeah,
because
yeah. I'm loving
because I love, so I know many of our store, we sold in a few hundred stores around the country just for refilleries. And I know many of these people that have opened these stores. I know them personally because I spend a lot of time learning about them and investing in them as entrepreneurs also, where it's a partnership when one of them sells dip, because we're doing it together mostly.
Get it.
And
Totally get it.
what I love about this movement is that these people are so in tune with what should and shouldn't go on their shelves, like
Nice.
health wise. Like, they really make sure that the ingredients of everything they put on their shelves, like, they do all the homework for you, so you don't have to go in there and like panic about what's on the shelves. Like, some people go into a Target or
Right.
Walmart, and they like are taking the
Go.
apps and scanning all of them. But the refilleries, those owners are so passionate about ingredients and your health that they do all of the homework for you. And I think that that's something that we should celebrate. And like, instead of clicking add to cart, like, get up, get in your car, go to their store and really experience it.
I'm excited. I can't wait to visit one and get to know these people. And I again, I don't know how I never even stumbled upon this in my life. I mean, I've been sustainable permaculture farmer for 40 years and it
Oh my
just
gosh.
didn't
What
come.
did you grow?
Oh, I have a nonprofit called Gardens of Hope, and we offer what we call therapeutic horticulture and education. So I've got a little 2.5 acre botanical garden and a small farm, and we grow seasonal vegetables, we grow herbs and flowers, and people participate in the process. So it's a healing garden, by not only the process of growing it, but the things that we grow and harvest.
That's so cool. I bet for the nervous system, getting in that garden is probably
Oh,
really good for people.
magical. In my own healing journey, it's been instrumental. And we have, mental health groups that come over, special needs groups come over, and everybody that touches the ground benefits.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's a nonprofit.
Yeah, 501(c)(3), Gardens of Hope, you
All
bet.
right, I'll donate when we get off the
Love it.
podcast. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think that's a really, really worthy cause. And I think it's really so exciting that that exists. I
Love
wish
to
it
feature
existed for
you as
me.
a sponsor. Yeah, absolutely. We'll help each
Yeah,
other.
that's like, I went through like a tough time at one point, and what I really needed to do, I didn't know about the parasympathetic nervous system. Like, I just didn't know that this was something that hadn't come into my brain before. Like,
Right.
we talked about it, and now,
Just like refilleries.
yeah, yeah, like,
Never came in.
I had no idea that the things that were I needed to heal were like a gratitude journal, going outside in a hammock, and walking
Huge.
among the
Sit in
flowers.
nature and just hear the sounds of the birds. Yeah.
Yeah, like, not listening to podcasts or music when I'm walking in the woods and noticing like the light come through the trees. Like,
Yeah.
that was something I didn't know was part of the medicine I needed. And
100%.
it totally blew my mind that there was this whole thing that we never learned in health class that was so
Right.
vital and crucial to your well-being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're all about it and we love sharing it. And if you're ever in Southern California, I'd love to show you around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come see the farm, especially.
Exactly. Well, listen, we're getting close to that bewitching hour. This has been exciting hearing about your story, your products, and this is where I give you a couple of minutes to give your final thoughts and elevator pitch and how everybody can get a hold of you.
Sure. Hey, so my name is Kate Assaraf. I own Dip. It is very serious hair care for not so serious people. And what it is it's plastic free, sold in small stores and salons and surf shops around the country. And it actually works. So you don't have to worry. We don't hire influencers and we don't pay people to pretend that they bought it. Like the only hype you ever hear from actual customers. And you can find us at dipalready.com. And also at Dip Already on Instagram and TikTok.
Fantastic. Well, Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I wasn't sure how this conversation would go because I just didn't have much thought about it, but I'm really glad to have met you. And I look forward to furthering our conversation as we go.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, this has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine. I thank you for your support, and we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.